Hello anybody who's watching this. Welcome to my reaction to everything you've been waiting for. Or at least I've been waiting for this. It's Costa Concordia Q&A by internet historian who of course did the original Costa Concordia video. I can't wait! I'm not gonna say any, except if you have a video for me to react to, you use the nation link in the description below. That's about it. Let's go. I can't wait.
As ever, right on schedule. Welcome to the Q&A. For the structure of the video, we originally had a bunch of different title cards, but as we made the video, it didn't flow properly and it kind of ruined the rhythm of everything, so we're going to repurpose them here and show you a bunch of other cut assets too.
Oh, nice, okay. So when they drop the anchor too much?
The old intro. Right.
Oh, no.
We initially plotted a completely different intro for this video. It started out actually as like a mission brief for a Metal Gear Solid level.
Oh.
We crafted a ton of assets for it as well. And the
Wow.
idea was, alright, Snake is going to be sneaking on board the ship, and he may even help cause the disaster, or was watching it unfold.
Before we go too far into it, I think the way the video came out was perfect. I think just the way it was structured and shown was perfect enough. I don't think this would go as well. Would have went as well.
And we'd use a bunch of stuff from the tanker level from Metal Gear Solid 2. But in the end, it just felt way too shoehorned in, so we ditched it. But here's some of that.
As they leave port in Rome, you'll infiltrate the ship.
I think it's partially because it's like a very, very real situation. There are, what, 32 people died? So doing it like jokingly, jokingly like this, wouldn't go as well, in my opinion.
We use a lot of text-to-speech because it actually saves having to record, re-record, then cut down the audio, recut the audio, put new stuff in, blah, blah, blah. So it's way easier just to do text-to-speech for a lot of this stuff. And then only when things are finalized and we need the timings, we do the real VO. Yeah, so you get the idea.
Okay.
With proper timings, maybe it could have worked, because it gave us an excuse to explain it and keep the high energy there. But then it started to fall apart, and the scope started blooming, where I was trying to turn Samorton into Olga.
Yes, they are all planted.
You will be on the helicopter out of here now.
And then I realized, okay, this whole thing needs a revamp. So one of the editors was working on the outro scene, which was Titanic themed, and I sort of had a chat with the historian. Okay, what do we do? How do we fix this? And then we decided, look, let's just make the whole thing Titanic themed. And then all the rest just fell into place.
Okay.
Engineering failures. This is where things are going to get a little technical, but hopefully you guys like that stuff. So, the ship has these 6 massive diesel generators, and they produce electricity that's distributed all across the ship, right? And they're kept across 2 watertight compartments, and they're consecutive to each other here on the ship. The power goes from these 6 to a main distribution panel, which is then routed all over the ship where it's needed, and then a lot of that electricity is taken to these 2 electric motors, which then produce propulsion for the ship. There are also 3 separate motors at the back, which drive the rudder. Cool. Let's play out...
Sorry for this. What? What do you want? Don't go there, there's nothing for you there. Okay.
An emergency scenario. So your generators go down. What should happen is that the emergency power supply kicks on, which is powered by an emergency diesel generator. This thing is way smaller than these 6 big lads, right? It'll give you lighting, it'll give you comms, it'll give you crucial stuff, but you're not driving...
Comms? Oh, damn it, that's in the way. Comms, only external comms because it does not need it. The phone between the bridge and the lower deck is a physical line. Filter cans the stream.
in the ship with this thing. There's not enough
Fell
power.
from a table
When
already.
this emergency diesel generator kicks on, it also goes through an emergency power distribution panel.
You're on the right.
That's all good, it makes sense. You need this stuff to be on a completely separate circuit. There's also backup to the emergency as well, so if the emergency power supply fails, then there's a secondary system that runs solely on batteries, but that's even more limited, so it gives you some emergency lights and the comms, and not much more than that. There's a couple of other tertiary systems as well, for like the VDR and the radio, but we're not going to get into that. So that's the design, and let's get into what went wrong. When the ship crashed, water quickly flooded into 3 compartments.
Starting
2 of those
with the
compartments
electricity.
housed the 6
main
big generators, and then the 3rd housed the main electrical panel. This is a worst case scenario stuff. So, as designed, the emergency distribution panel kicks on, and it disconnected itself from the main panel to prevent damage. However, the damage was so extensive that it caused a circuit break between the emergency diesel generator and the emergency distribution panel. So the system detects this, and it goes straight to the secondary backup, right? And it's essentially running off batteries. There's a lot of this scene that we had to cut out, but the engineers essentially are the real heroes of this story. They were constantly turning the emergency diesel generator on and off manually to bypass this circuit break. However,
so there's
another problem. The emergency diesel generator's fan cooling system is damaged as well. So when it's turned on, it overheats. And without a proper heat exchange, the temperature just goes up and up and up to dangerous levels, goes to 100 degrees, the boiling point of water, and at that point you simply have to turn it off, otherwise the whole thing's going to break entirely, or catch fire, or worse. Right, so the engineers have to turn it on manually to bypass the circuit break, and they're doing it with a screwdriver while they're being surrounded by water, and they have to do it until the thing overheats, and then as soon as it overheats, they gotta turn it back off, or sometimes it'll turn itself back off. But you can force it to stay on
some kind of a kill switch
by shoving a rag in there and not letting the screw turn back the other way, which is eventually what Pilon did. So I'll show some footage here and see all these white lights. That is all thanks to the engineers downstairs.
Yeah, they did a great job, to be honest.
If they don't have
for the engineers, this situation was the worst because of the overheating situation and having to turn it off and on again. They were probably up to the waist in water. It's just horrible. And for me, what's even more horrible is that it wasn't their fault. They just have to deal with more shit during this crash, while it has had nothing to do with what they do, because it's captain's fault. It's just Jesus Christ.
Emergency diesel generators running, then it's just emergency lights. It's like those little red lights, and you can't see a whole lot. Now you might think that, okay, if only we can get this EDG working, and if only we could limit the amount of water that's coming in, then surely there are like emergency water pumps on board that they can use to save the ship.
But they're probably
unfortunately not, and this is where you start to get into really bad design. These pumps are massive, and they require at least 3 of the 6 big engines in order to work. So they're effectively ruled out at the point of impact, so it's just not an option. Anyway, the engineers
so they did have them, but they
as long as they could, turning the EDG on and off, meter deep in water, before finally they had to evacuate.
This is very interesting because I've seen Q&A for, what did I see, Rainforest maybe? Anyway, I've seen 2 Q&As and they were just historian with somebody else, like his girlfriend or wife in one of them, and like maybe a friend in the other one, I don't remember. And they were talking, like one would ask questions and the historian would answer them. And here he just going through points. It's completely differently made. Maybe there are something before this that are done in this manner, but I haven't seen
this swing. I want to take a second crack at
maybe
explaining this one, because I think we might have rushed it. So, you're coming in at this angle, and you're actually going to miss the rocks with the bow of the ship. Good. Good news. But because the ship is so long, the side is going to smack right into the ship. Like,
I
the back
haven't
of
seen
the
the
ship does
problem
not
with that
have the same
in the
sharp
video.
angle of turn, right?
That was just very
So
clear.
Schettino was right in knowing that the ship should middle the rudder to prevent the swinging of the ship, and he ordered the rudder to middle as well. But then the helmsman, he misunderstood the
Yes.
order or panicked, acted on his own, or, didn't understand Italian very well or English very
Yeah.
well, and he just kept going, well,
His
I'll
communication was
turn away
quite
from the rock.
horrid
Of course, I want to get away from the
situation.
rock as far as possible. And so that's what caused the side of the ship to collide. And then the rest is as you know it.
Yeah. Okay.
The media. The media got a ton of stuff wrong. Holy shit. A lot of it was just rampant speculation, especially as the news was unfolding. The worst culprits.
Why was that like, really? Did they? In Russian media, multiple times there was a situation where people put on news, even I think president was talking about a video of, not like of a military action, like a video showing something happen, like not specifically a war, but something in the same manner. Some kind of attack, maybe with planes sometimes. Doesn't matter. But talking about the video being recorded from the place, while that video was like, I think at least one time it was Call of Duty gameplay. And they took it as reality and then showed it on national news. So media is shit anywhere.
Where, of course, the mainstream press.
Being
They've gone
surprised.
through mostly now and scrubbed their old articles of the mistakes, but there's a lot of stuff that you can't edit, especially video.
Now we only have 5 confirmed deaths, and now that 29 missing is now down to 24.
Actually, we have, I think, 11 confirmed
It's 11
deaths at
confirmed
this-
deaths.
So I'll try to find it. There's a clip where he talks
You're
about
both
the
wrong.
boat using its forward thrusters totally wrong.
Apparently with some idea of getting to a port or doing something else. Instead, they move on for some distance and begin to turn.
They made no such turn.
What?
It didn't
No.
do this at all. It goes all the way over here and then comes back.
It didn't turn because it couldn't fucking turn. Like, I guess you have to jump. Like, the situation happens and you have to jump on it. Like, to get your news first. Which breaks the situation entirely because you don't know what exactly happened, so you probably have to come on it on the fly. And you see the ship being turned the opposite direction than it was coming, and you're like, oh, that means they turned around and tried to go back, but then got stuck on the rocks. But can't you fucking wait? Well, you can because it's fucking media, and media is one of the stupidest thing humanity came up with, but there is a black box thing that Internet Historian was using. I know it's like, what, 8-9 years after the incident? But still, like, they would have to make them public, the records from the black box, and then you can make your news. I think if your news are slower than your average, like a media station, media of like something of media, slower, but more accurate, it's more reliable. I think then people would be more drawn to you instead of you just jumping immediately and saying bullshit that you don't know, that you just came up with. And I'm not talking about the guy who said it, because he probably got it from the prompter. He didn't write it. Probably, at least.
Number 2, they fell for the Hungarian meme.
A young
Wait, what?
Hungarian woman who says she was on board. She called her parents saying that she was on board during this disaster.
Didn't happen. Number 3, it was an
Wasn't there a... She wasn't Hungarian, she was Italian? Is that the thing? Because I remember in the video there was a woman who called her daughter on land, saying that something happened, and daughter called the police and all that stuff. I guess this is not what we're
ecological
talking about.
time bomb, fellas.
Ecological time bomb if they don't get that fuel off.
But it wasn't. This was all hype. There was a very low chance of that. There was no big oil spill. There was no damage to the environment. In fact, the environment was better off after the sinking had happened and they had done all the cleanup. Fish stocks were up.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because there's a ship there, so no ship would go there. I still don't understand the was it drive-by salute? Swim-by salute? I don't know. But you get to close to the shore, just fuck it. Just go far from a shore. The fish would be better off. Just all nature will be better off. All ecological system and close to the coast.
You name it, everything was better on all metrics.
Oh, and yeah, this happened because there's no more ships going because there's one lane there, so they can. The other thing that's happening is people working on lifting it up, and they started working almost immediately, right? So it wasn't an ecological disaster of any rate.
You know, you can see the, can you believe it, the whoa, whoa inflection in her voice and the ramping up of the drama. This is all just entertainment, it's not news.
Such a large
Exactly,
scale.
it's not fucking news. Media is not fucking news.
All these people just on a rope. How scary that must
I
have
got
been
way too
trying
into
to
it.
get off this ship.
Okay, this is a good one.
Gripping new video just in that shows us what was happening inside the Costa Concordia as water rushed inside the ship.
This footage is not from the disaster at all.
It doesn't make
It's actually
sense.
from a swimming pool malfunction on the Carnival Paradise, a different ship altogether, from 3 years prior, in 2009.
Between the events on the
So they just took it without checking. They're like, oh yeah. It doesn't even make sense because why would it flood staying still while Costa Concordia immediately like went to the side and then probably started flooding non-bottom parts. I already forgot how they call it. Anyway.
the nights of 1912 and 2012 are the reason I'm a conservative.
Wait, what?
You know, Raycon man, you're a good guy. You deserve to find someone who appreciates you.
Oh.
Yeah, the Raycon E25 earbuds. They cost half the price of other premium earbuds. Exactly. You're a great catch. I'm going to set you up with a friend of mine. So I told him that I could totally fit it. And I guess what they said. What? Exactly. God, it's so nice to meet a guy who pays attention. Yeah, the weather really is nice today. That's a great idea. Let's go for a walk in the park. Ooh, ice cream. What flavor should we get? Yeah, they come in like 6 different colors. Good call, we'll get one of every kind.
This is our colors.
Lost you there. Did you say something? Oh, thank God. I'm so glad
This
I
is
found
one.
you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Of course I'll marry you, Raycon man. What?
Do you, Rayconman, take this
Stumble
woman
over
to be your
success, is that how it's
lawfully
called?
wedded wife?
Yeah, they have like super long battery life without needing to be recharged. Oh, I want to spend my long life with you too, Raycon man.
Just weird. Huh.
Merry Christmas, kids! Wow, the new Raycon E25 everyday earbuds. Thanks, Dad. Oh my God, thanks, Dad. A puppy. Woof.
Oof.
I got you something special as well.
Got him.
Oh my God, my own pair of Raycons. Just what I wanted. How do they look? What? 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 Ha ha ha. Merry Christmas, everyone. Go to buyraycon.com/incognito for
Fuck is this
15%
ad?
off E25 everyday earbuds Raycon. And,
Why did you? Oh, very weird.
Costa Crochet.
Whoops.
Well, they've cleaned up their act quite a lot. After the disaster, the company was quick to bring in independent auditors. One thing we didn't touch on is that at the time, they had this protocol running that the safety procedures would be done within 24 hours of leaving port. And that sounds fine, but the problem is new passengers are coming on and off all the time, and Civitavecchia, which is the port they just left, is a major one. So most of the passengers were getting on there. And then between Civitavecchia and their next destination is where they had the crash. And because they were due to have the safety briefing in the morning the next day, you had, a few thousand people on board that had absolutely no idea what to do. So it's like, go to muster stations. What's a muster station? It's a bit like doing your safety procedures mid-flight instead of during takeoff. So that policy has since been changed, and
that makes more
everyone
sense.
Has to do a safety briefing before or.
For a second, I thought when he said that before what they doing before 24 hours is checking the ship itself, like for any kind of malfunction, and I thought that sounds fine. I don't know. People coming in and out may cause a bit problem, but overall I think it will be fine. But yeah, if it's a briefing, then makes more sense to do it before leaving, just like the plane one,
while leaving the port. And pretty much every cruise line operates this way now too, which is good.
That's good.
They've also created a live monitoring system so that they can see where every ship is at any given moment. I don't know why there wasn't already like a GPS system that could see down to the inch where everyone was at all times. But hitherto there hadn't been. Chalk it up to maybe 2012 technology or something. But most cruise lines have this now too, but some still don't. Watch out. Along with that, they had some ecological reports commissioned. Despite CNN's blustering about an ecological crisis,
Ecological time bombing.
There was also some stuff in the report and blustering.
The guy on the left kind of looks like the captain.
About an ecological crisis.
There
was also some stuff in the report about injecting money into the local economy, over $1 billion. But, that stuff is kind of indirect and through the cleanup process. It's one of those statements you would call sort of factually correct, but not accurate. But overall,
even if they did that, they gave $1 billion, like for helping ecology and stuff. It's for their image mostly, isn't it? It's just they want after that big of a disaster, they want their name to be associated with something good. So people, like when you go back, they don't just last thing that happened with this company is that their ship crashed and 30 people died. Welcome back. But now if you search it up, they're like, the ship crashed, but they helped. They got it off. They helped in ecology and all that. They're good.
They did a pretty good job with the cleanup, and they showed a real willingness to improve things.
Oh, you're gonna bite me again.
Schettino's fate.
Ow.
Where is Schettino now? Well,
Prison.
He's still in jail.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 16 years, starting in 2017, and if some of his house arrest has contributed to time served, then he should be out by the year 2029, or earlier, with good behavior. There was a bit of confusion between whether it was 26 years or 16 years.
Even if it's 16 years, it's 2033, isn't it? 2033. Can you stop? Can you stop? Ow. No, let me go. I want to put you on the floor. Let me go. Okay. You let go yourself. Why 2029 right off the bat? Was it lowered immediately? Seriously? Don't go into the trash. Was it lowered immediately? 2029 would be 2033 and then good behavior? I don't know.
Yes, it was 16. The prosecutors asked for 26. We should have been a bit more clear on that. But look, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he was released as early as next year. The Italian justice system seems to me to be very forgiving. That's why you saw the officers only get between 1 and 2 years each, and most likely none of them did any actual jail time.
Okay.
Schettino's previous accidents. This bit I felt a little bit bad about because it comes across as maybe a smidge dishonest. We didn't mean for it to be, but it's not always easy to give the audience the right impression when the pacing has to be so quick. First thing, we showed this picture to people, and I noticed in some reactions, people thought it was real. And came into court too fast and caused another collision.
Holy shit.
But if you're a bit more of an eagle-eyed viewer, you'll
Yeah,
notice
it's not.
right there in the center of the screen is text that says that this isn't real, this is from the movie Speed 2. But I guess it just wasn't enough. I can understand how someone would actually overlook it, so whoops.
However,
There were no pictures that we could find from the incident, so that's what we used. From the 2010 incident, when Schettino was captaining the Costa Atlantica, not the Concordia, he crashed it into the Ada Blue when in port in Warnemünde, Germany. We jumped on this as a point of information, much like the press did, but it actually turns out that the Ada put out a press release that says something like, the ramp was damaged and this is really not a big deal. So, you know, maybe both of those things were hyped a little bit. I mean, they both happened. But I think we probably put too much of an exclamation mark on it.
Ooh, Bioshock. Rapture.
La Veritas Somers. What is this book about?
That would broke.
Well, it's Schettino's attempt to exonerate himself from responsibility for what happened. He uses a lot of VDR
Why are you
data
so
and court
angry?
records to say, basically, look,
not angry.
hey, it's not all me. There's a shared responsibility here on the company and the officers. And there's some truth to that. And I think he should be able to defend himself. So if you're curious and you can read Italian, why not grab a copy?
Okay.
Putting a bunch of spam and meat. If you're curious.
Click L again. It shoves the video 10 seconds ahead. Anyway. I don't think he gets 100% of responsibility for what happened. I think overall every crew member that was going for it, like, how do I explain that? Every crew member that was right underneath him, like a helmsman, and then the whole bridge, at least some people on the bridge do that, and the company who hired them, especially the helmsman, because that was like the main point. Stop it, you little bastard. Let me press the button.
And you can read Italian, why not grab a copy? I also wanted to put out there that there's a couple of YouTube videos made by him. I wasn't entirely sure whether to link people to this because I didn't want people going over there and just putting a bunch of spam and mean comments and stuff on them.
Can you hear him? Come on. Meow.
The comments section.
Squeaks.
That actually happened with Sir Morton's Instagram page when we used that as a prop, and you know we don't really want that sort of stuff to happen.
Yeah,
but I do think that he deserves a fair chance to have his say. So I'm going to put a link in the description, and I'd appreciate it if you'd all act in the very cool way that you do. Very cool. Be cool.
Stop. Don't touch the keyboard again. Oops.
The officers.
Yes, they share like
What
a little
happened
bit
to
of
them?
blame.
Most of them are
Don't
just
fight the
keeping
table.
low profile and getting on with their lives. We actually managed to find Jacob Russley-Bin. I put a bounty out to find him and paid it too. But in the end, we decided not to post his personal information in the video. We had found it quite late in development as well. And when we were doing these action scenes, we didn't know what he looked like. People saying he looked like this. This is not him. People saying he looked like this. This is not him. People sending me photos of him all the time. You've all got it wrong. So instead we used a Sims 3 head. And then later on we did find him, and then we decided not to swap out the heads. Because,
you know, this
video went out when we did find him, and then we decided not.
Not actually Jacob from Prison English. Okay. Let me press the button.
Swap out the heads, because, you know, this video went out to more than 1 million people, and I just don't want a bunch of righteous actors going over there and fucking up his life. I don't like that. I see it on Twitter and I don't like it. Dominica Samorton.
Please don't press anything.
I got you on camera.
Yes, I felt a little bit bad about this. She's been through the rung of the media quite a lot over the last few years, but I do have to show you this because I think it's very funny. although it'll
The
probably
hell?
get the video demonetized.
Okay. Drug spoon. Oh, it's drag needle. Nice censorship, I like it. Drag lighter, drag spoon, drag needle, drugs. Right in front of the kid? What the fuck is this? Real pencil. Oh, it's not in front of the kid. It's for the kid. Oh, it's like a meal?
What?
Did she? Oh, I think I get what that means. Like, it actually wasn't drugs. It was a burger, but they made it seem because you can get like addicted to food and fast food and you shouldn't eat it. Is that the reason? Fantasia Dominica Samorden? Really? Almost fell from the table again. Stop fighting me! Then why do people feed them fast food? Wait, what? Would you inject drugs with your children? Yeah, okay, that is what that is. I didn't read that first. Wow, fast food in Italian is fast food? Or is it Italian? Ow! I hope Mike picks that up. Ow! You son of a bitch! I was very quiet. Don't. Can you see him squeaking? Anyway, I'm distracted. That's it. You distract me. Go away. This is stupid. Let's continue.
There's also a misconception that the captain was going too close to shore because he was trying to show off to Sir Morton. In fact, that is almost certainly not true, and it's much more likely that he was just trying to be nice to the maitre d'. He was trying to create like a special moment for him.
Yeah,
so it was uncovered that the maitre d's sister lives on the island, and she was really excited to see her brother on the ship. And, you know, they were even Facebook posting.
Costa cruises Concordia will soon pass by. Salute to my brother who will finally land on Savona to enjoy a little
about
vacation.
it and going, oh, you know, he's going to be here at this time and I'll be able to wave to him and he can see my house and it'll be so cool. And so, yeah, it seems like one of the reasons why they were getting so close is the captain was trying to do a nicety for the maitre d'.
Very interesting.
Now, this recreation scene, we had to cut a lot from it. It was originally 35 minutes long. It was way too much. And so once we had the full scope of it, essentially storyboarded the whole thing out on the timeline, we started paring it back. And most of the things that were cut were phone calls between the bridge and the engine room. Here's some examples. Already, this is becoming a big story. Io Carino says to the staff captain, the situation has become unbearable. There's 1 meter of water. Also, there's water in the elevators. The conversation between Chief Engineer Pilon and Captain. Pilon says, all flooded, DG 1, 2, 3. They just keep asking the same questions and giving progressively dire updates. The captain calls the lower deck. Is there water? But there's no response. Hello? An unconfirmed voice says, watertight doors closed. Okay, you see about the blackout. The important thing is that no water is getting in. Many voices. Abandon ship, abandon ship, abandon. Some of the dialogue in these scenes also might seem a bit unpolished. That's because we're trying to use as much direct quote as possible from the characters. Rather than summarizing what they said or putting too much of a comedic tone on it, we figured the more we went into like the comedic route, the less it would keep this sort of intrigue and drama of what they were really saying, you know, what they were really feeling. There was also a ton of repetition. Like, the captain is constantly calling the lower decks for updates and just saying the same thing. Hey, is it flooded? Hey, is it getting worse? And then they're just going, no, the engines won't start. Yes, we're struggling with the emergency generator. And so it's a lot of pointless back and forth. We also cut some things that are confusing. So the captain first spoke to the harbour master in Civitavecchia, but he managed to smooth things over with them, and he didn't speak to them again. But then it was afterwards that the phone call happened, where the woman called her daughter, and then the daughter called the police, and the police called the Livorno harbour master, which then set off this chain of events with the Coast Guard. That felt like way too much.
Why Livorno? Civitavecchia seems closer, so why is it Livorno's case? Was that still a region that under Livorno's government? And Civitavecchia starts farther, or maybe on the map here it just shows that it's somewhere down there, I don't know.
Which then set off this chain of events with the Coast Guard. That felt like way too much in the weeds detail, and it was going to interrupt the flow, so we cut that initial phone call with Civitavecchia.
I think it was made very good, very straightforward.
As just a little more detail, there were 25 patrol boats that came in from Livorno, Civitavecchia, Rome, Oblia, Portoferrina, Porto Santo Stefano, Porto Ecoli, and Talamoni. Involved with the Italian Federal Police, the State Police, the Carabinieri, the fire brigades, 8 helicopters from the Coast Guard, the Federal Police, even the Italian Navy and Air Force were
I think that's
involved,
unnecessary.
as well as 14 merchant vessels and 4 port tugboats. Massive operation. And it was all mostly under the competent directive of DeFalco.
Alright.
DeFalco's call.
I talked before in the other video that I've seen a reaction from like a ship officer, something like that. Hey, Omanite. And almost stuck. Anyway, he was calling the Falco like it's a hero, like he's not proud of him. What is the? I guess looks up to him. He said he's a good man and all that, and he was. Well, he found out about like he was demoted, not demoted necessarily, but like was transferred back and forth, and then what the fuck happened after this situation? He was not happy about it.
We cut this short because the section had gone on a bit too long, but these phone calls where DeFalco put Schettino on blast are hilarious. Here are the highlights.
Pronto? Comandante Schettino, comandante. Schettino? Sì. Ascolti Schettino. Ci sono persone intrappolate a bordo. Adesso lei va con la sua chaloupe sotto la prua della nave, lato dritto. Le è chiaro? Allora, comandante, le dico una cosa. Parli a voce alta. Allora, la nave adesso, io sono qua di fronte... Comandante, parli a voce più alta. Metta la mano davanti al microfono e parla a voce alta. Comandante, allora, in questo momento...
Hey, you talk like this, like
la
that.
nave è inclinata. Ho capito. C'è gente, ascolti, c'è gente che sta scendendo dalla biscaccina di prua. Lei quella biscaccina la percorre in senso inverso, sale sulla nave e mi dice quante persone e che cosa hanno a bordo. Chiaro? Guardi Schettino, mi dice che portato dal mare, ma io la porto veramente molto male, faccio passare l'anima dei guai.
That was the video. There it is.
Comandante, per cortesia. No, per cortesia, lei adesso prende e va a bordo. Mi assicuri che sta andando a bordo. Io sto andando qua con la lancia dei soccorsi, sono sotto qua, non sono andato da nessuna parte, sono qua. Che sta facendo, comandante? Sto qua per coordinare i soccorsi. Che sta coordinando lì? Vada a bordo, mi coordini i soccorsi da bordo. Lei si rifiuta? No, non mi sto rifiutando. Lei si sta rifiutando di andare a bordo, comandante? No, sto andando. E mi dica qual è il motivo per cui non ci va. Sto andando perché ci sta l'altra lancia che si è fermata. Lei vada a bordo, è un ordine. Lei non deve fare altre valutazioni. Lei ha dichiarato l'abbandono nave. Adesso comando io. Lei vada a bordo.
And with their eyes, both of them.
Comandante, non mi sente? Sto andando a bordo. Vada. Okay. Ci sono già dei cadaveri, Schettino. Avanti. Quanti cadaveri ci sono? Non lo so, uno l'ho sentito. Me lo devi dire lei quanti ce ne sono, Cristo? Ma Ti rende conto che è buio e che qua non vediamo nulla? E che vuole tornare a casa, Schettino? È buio, vuole tornare a casa? Salga sulla prua della nave tramite la biscacina e mi dica cosa si può fare, quante persone ci sono e che bisogno hanno. Ora!
Based on the records from the Coast,
It's like a dialogue with your parent. Like you leave school and maybe teacher calls your mom and tells her that you're not in school anymore where you should be, not on the lesson. And then your mom calls you like, what the fuck, where are you? Go back to school. That's how I feel. I don't think I had those situations on the phone, but I think I did have them personally, face to face with my mom.
Schettino hid from authorities for most of the night. Early on, when the Coast Guard first arrived with a boat, they searched around for the captain, and he was already gone. He had abandoned ship while there were still hundreds of people on board. So they report to command that the captain might be on shore. So they head there. They can't find him there, so they head back to the ship. DeFalco then tells the Coast Guard to find him and drag his ass back on board. Someone from the Coast Guard then spots Schettino on the rocks near Point Gabbianara, and they inform the police, some of whom are down at the beach. So the police chief makes his way over there. He finds Schettino and tries to reason with him. Hey, come on, you got to go back, you got to get on a boat, you got to go to the Coast Guard. Schettino refuses. Instead, he spends the next half hour or so just watching the rescue operation. It's pretty pathetic. The police captain gives up eventually, and then he returns to port. There is some speculation that the reason Schettino did this was because he was considering throwing himself off the rocks. At least that's what one of his officers said. It's hard to know if that's true. Probably is. It'd be understandable at that point.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But
poor taste. Hilarious, but in poor taste. He probably was thinking about something like that, and he definitely was looking at the situation that he created and was thinking that his life is over anyway. So he'll go to prison, but I am curious what's gonna happen to him after prison. Like, will he be hired back at any capacity, not necessarily as a captain, but maybe as a helmsman, as a cleaner? I don't know. Will you put him on a ship ever again? Or will you consider him a bad luck kind of thing? If he's on a ship, the ship is gonna crash. Like.
From there, the police tell the Coast Guard what's happened. DeFalco then calls Schettino's mobile and orders him back on board. Schettino claims that I'm going back on the Costa right now. But DeFalco knows that's not true, because he knows where he is. He knows he's on the rocks over there. So DeFalco tells Schettino that a Coast Guard boat is on its way to his location, and you'd better be bloody well on board it. And then it arrives. Schettino refuses to board it, and they give up. Then some more time passes, and then they send another boat, and eventually he agrees to go. They take him to the shore, and he's interviewed by police. And
not back to the ship. Oh. Well, that's so hell.
So let's talk about DeFalco's demotion. It's hard to know exactly what was going on between DeFalco and Delana. A lot of it seems to be this overshadowing thing. But there's one more factor that might have been the missing puzzle. I'm not saying this for sure, but it was a thing that was heavily speculated.
Come on, spit it out.
Not long before he was demoted, DeFalco had expressed public support for the victims of the Moby Prince disaster. Now, the Moby Prince was an Italian ferry which used to operate in Livorno until April 10th, 1991, when the ferry was involved in an accident and 140 people died. It's widely regarded that the incompetence of the Italian Coast Guard at the time led to this high death toll, as well as a corrupt judicial system which essentially absolved these government officers and their mishandling of the situation, and they were able to cover up for the disaster. So after DeFalco expressed public support for uncovering the truth of what happened, he received his order to be transferred to admin. Very interesting. A lot of people considered that to be far too coincidental, and that was punishment. There was a fair amount of public outcry after this happened.
It does it would make sense if he went against the higher ups, saying that it's not necessarily saying that it's their fault, but saying that they are at least partially responsible for what happened. Maybe not fully what happened, but what happened in this capacity, like 140 people died, which maybe if they did something different, there would be less casualties. If he did that, that would make sense why the higher ups would go against him, especially with the corrupt government as it is in Italy. I can relate with the corrupt government. I can relate.
And there were even politicians demanding an explanation as to why something of
to citizens of Italy, not to the Falco. I don't have a higher up. I'm not working in the government.
national hero had been snubbed.
To
Once
be
he said,
clear.
"See you later," to the Coast Guard, he joined the Five Star Movement, an Italian political party, and was elected in March 2018. And by December that same year, he was expelled from the party. I don't know a whole lot about it. He claims that he was expelled because he didn't vote in line with what the other party members wanted. And so today he serves as an independent.
Oh, okay. Oh, so Minecraft is after hell?
Devil's advocate. I want to put a little bit of balance in here. So, we've made some pretty heavy indictments on the captain and his character. I think it's cowardly, pathetic, but there's a little on the other side of the argument that also should be addressed. He was not the only one responsible for this crash. His staff were complacent and not following procedure. His helmsman went in the wrong direction multiple times. The ship had engineering failures like leaking watertight doors. The ship itself was...
I remember one door is not closing, but didn't normal watertight doors weren't watertight? I guess you can't really check that, but like you're not gonna flood your own ship. But nuts. Okay, that's
doomed from the moment it hit the rocks. There was nothing he could have actually done to save it. However, the court kind of hand-waved a lot of this stuff. And to me, it seems like they were going for a little bit of a PR trial. So, for example, admitted into the witness testimony, Ciro Ambrosio claimed that Schettino never took the con, which means tells everyone that he's in charge. But that's not true at all. You can clearly hear it on the VDR. Schettino says it. He does, in fact, take the con. So, we're not sure why he said that. We're not sure why it's there in the court record. But it sort of adds to this case of making the captain look worse.
Yeah, I think they chose him
Ferrarini also told
easy.
the court that he was very mad when he heard that the captain had lied to the harbour master and the Coast Guard, lying that it was only a blackout. But Ferrarini was doing practically exactly the same thing. He was keeping it quiet from the Coast Guard and hoping that they could fix the problem amongst themselves. Jacob Russley-Benn, who was a critical witness for Schettino's defence, just up and left the country. He was, after all, steering the ship at the time. I'd expect for his punishment to be 16
How did he
years in
fucking
prison.
leave? Shouldn't he be like ordered not to leave the country and like with his passport or whatever they use in Italy would be checked or oh it's you can't. No, not allowed by the court. He just fucking stood up and left.
Prison as well. But, you know, the court also focused quite a lot on the affair with Sir Morton, even though it had basically nothing to do with the tragedy. It was fairly incidental. To be fair, we did that too. We thought it was funny. But they turned it into a media
for the
circus.
joke.
And the claims about her distracting the captain, as far as we can tell, are just untrue. Thank you for the note, by the way. One of the editors here says, it's not like he had her bent over the steering wheel at the time.
Unless he did. But yeah, it's not. He wasn't doing much. Like as a captain, he set up the course, and the helmsman is turning. Like every people around him taking notice of what's happening. What did you do in the kitchen? Where did you fucking go already? He wasn't. He was just there. Like he wasn't doing anything active, so he can easily be talking to somebody else. It's not a problem. The problem is a language barrier because of the person, the fucking Costa. What was it? Costa Crociere hired. That's the main point. That's the biggest flaw in their $500 million ship. Jesus fuck. How do you make that ship and then you hire people for cheap? Like, they're not gonna sink it. Well.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, couldn't have put it better myself.
Yes.
Schettino's lawyers eventually talked about taking his case to the European Court of Human Rights. They said that basically they'd already decided his guilt and didn't give him a fair trial, also citing that no one who was judging him had nautical experience or had worked on a large ship before. You know, make of that what you will. But, you know, they did also give all of the officers plea deals and essentially only put Schettino on trial, practically guaranteeing a conviction. Yeah, so anyway, I just want to balance out the argument there. Should he be in jail? Yes. But all these things too. I'll point out one more thing as well that
all of them
might
should be, to be honest,
a little bit into the weeds. Italy absolutely did not want cruising to stop. Costa Corporate got off with a little more than a slap on the wrist. It was a $1 million fine, and by the way, you better clean up your mess, was basically the extent of it. And okay, that bill added up to well over $1 billion once that was done, but there was no criminal punishment. And I think the reason that happened is because cruising matters a lot to the local economies. They were keen to see it running at full capacity once again, as soon as...
Especially with the government that is very corrupt. They look at the money that it will cost them instead of money that... instead of people that are hurt.
So, with that in mind, perhaps some of the people over at HQ who should have been prosecuted were spared so that business could keep on chugging. But on the other side, you know, if you prosecute them, then you're actually punishing these local businesses and it starts getting complicated. It's better all handled through civil trials, and they did handle it through civil trials, so that makes sense. Also, I have to point out this clip, which is a straight up, what the heck are you talking about? Because, well, look for yourself.
Ng mga 10:30, dumating po siya ng araw na yun, meron kasama ho siyang babae na hindi ko kilala. Yung time po nun, naramdaman po namin na nagbagsakan na ho lahat ng mga niluluto namin sa cook. Nung si komandante, kinignan ho sabi namin.
The captain was non-stop on the phone the whole time. This is all clear on the VDR. The lights were out. He didn't go back to dining. This is just categorically
He's just talking like he's on the phone like, yeah, there's a problem. Where's my fucking drink? Yeah, it's 10:30. For fuck's sake.
True, but you know,
wasn't he a real
go out?
Yeah, of course.
Island troubles. The Concordia had sunk right off the shores of Giglio, and it was very close to their port as well. And this effectively closed things for a while, and once it was reopened, it was only reopened to a reduced capacity. And for the fishermen who worked there, it's not just a matter of, oh, you avoid it and you'll be fine. There's a ton of security, there's cleanup crews roaming around, all sorts of things that just mean that you can't come and go as you please anymore. And of course the locals weren't too happy about it. There was this big fuck-off cruise ship ruining their slice of paradise. It had also become a hub for tourists to visit and gawk at the ship. To be fair, if I was in the area, I'd be sailing out there too to gawk at it. The island was filled with news reporters who would come to take photos.
I said, do not attack my fucking legs.
Buongiorno, buongiorno.
Why? Why are you attacking my legs? I'm not attacking my arms. That's fine.
El familiar avec Schettino, you know, and also an endless stream of cleanup crews who were living on the island in temporary accommodation. And overall, it had most of them bothered. But for a contingency of people on the island, there was some good news too. A lot of the hotels and bars and restaurants typically closed for half the year when they couldn't get enough customers. You know, it might be winter time, something like that, and people wouldn't come and visit in high enough volume for them to keep their establishment open. But for that period, while the cleanup crews were there, they were able to keep things open all year round. Renee and Renee.
Stop it.
Very successful law firm based in New York, also operating in Hungary. Mr. Renee speaks Hungarian fluently, hence why he takes on a lot of these cases, and he was able to suss out that it was a scam well before the media did. Renee also has a track record for successfully suing cruise lines, seems to be a bit of a specialty of theirs. In this
Okay.
segment, I had quite a few people comment that I was wrong about Hungary having no laws for insurance fraud,
What are you
and
doing?
maybe you're right. But that's a direct quote from Mr. Rene, who specializes in this area of law. So I don't know, I just took his word for it. Also, this is in 2012. Maybe it's not true of today. And they wouldn't stop them from being prosecuted for other crimes, regular fraud, lying to authorities, for instance. But they weren't. And the point is that the couple got away with it. Mario Pellegrini, the deputy mayor. We just wanted to include this bit because we thought it was a good example of what someone in a leadership position should do.
Yeah.
Instead of running away and hiding like the captain did. This guy immediately jumped on one of the boats returning to the Costa, and he went round helping passengers. We thought it was a very nice contrast. Martin the Magician. Maybe we didn't do the best job explaining here, so let me do a quick recap.
For me, I didn't get it. Why was the focus on him at all? Why was Martin the Magician so important to this story? For a joke that he disappeared in the end? Is that it?
You've got this magician, and he's doing a cut woman in half trick. And just as the assistant is about to step into the front half of the box, the ship crashes, and everything gets put on pause. Then there's also a dancer, right? Rosalind Rinkin, and she's already in the box, because once they cut this lady in half, right, she's going to stick out her legs, right? So, as part of the act. So Rosalind can feel the jolt, and then she can hear the audience murmuring, and she's like, whoa, 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 let me out, let me out. Then the lights go out, and you start hearing more like, whoa, whoa, what's going on? And then at this point, it's pitch black, right? And Martin flicks the latch to let Rosalind out so that she can get out, and then he just bolts off the stage. He just takes off running.
Yeah.
And then the lights come back on, and it's this bizarre ta-da, because they've ruined the cut woman in half trick, and you can just hear his footsteps running away across the wooden stage in the distance. And everyone's going, wait a minute, what the fuck? This guy, he's just leaving? What the heck? And people start to panic a bit. And then Rosalind, the assistant, kind of go, oh, maybe we should start directing the audience out of here. And then later on, when the ship starts to tilt, the whole box just falls right into the audience. And then by that point, everyone's just panicking. Okay, get the fuck out. Got to get back to our cabins. We've got to get to muster station. We've got to get out of here. But I think it's very funny that Martin just ran away. He's a fairly famous magician. He's been on telly a few times. You can see his stuff on YouTube. The pasta dish. What did we do with it afterwards? We threw it away. It's like $1 worth of pasta and $1.50 jar of sauce. I offered it to the editors, but amazingly, they didn't want it after I put my grubby hands in it and threw it into a dirty sink. Ungrateful, that's what I say.
There they are. The deets.
Also, you gotta mention, this guy reviewed our video.
That's the one I was talking about.
Waterman, and he said that we were very accurate. Thank you very much.
By the way, I just want to say that this is an excellent recollection of the whole event.
What's up with Taika Waititi stealing my fucking ideas for videos? What the fuck? No one was talking about Steve Bonnet till I was. I wagered someone saw that, and then they just went, yeah, we'll have it.
But I told my friend that story about Steve Bonnet, and he was like, I would watch that as a movie. And I think I said that too in the video.
But thanks. I swear to God, if there's a montage scene in there
honest,
where he like learns to become a pirate, I'm gonna be furious. I think that's everything. Oh, why it takes so long to do these videos, and why it took so long to get this Q&A done. There's a Q&A coming out next week on incognito mode. Right, well, basically what happened was, after we missed that first deadline of a week, everything just got put on the back burner. It's like, alright, well, we didn't make it. There's actually other projects that need focus on, so we just started back on in the field.
Okay.
We didn't make it. There's actually...
Area 51, Gamestone, King of the Capitol Hill, Return of the Vaccine, Suez Canal, it's the Evergreen, Fall of 77. That's a good title, and would be interesting to see if he has something that most people don't know about the development of Cyberpunk. The missing case of who stole my pizza bagels from the office.
The other projects that need focus on, so we just started back on in the field, and we started working on more main channel stuff. Also, you know, this was expected to be a, hey, we'll do this off the cuff, it'll take 20 minutes, and then it's like of course, a 40-minute produced fucking edited video in the end. We had to find a lot of
43, 48.
The main channel videos. I feel like maybe we just never explain why it takes so long to do these things. Here, you know what?
Before he says it, I'm gonna say what I believe, and I think it's because of it requires a lot of research. You have to write a script, then there's a lot of editing done, especially if you do like animations. You have like finding photos, but I think research and script writing, and possibly like the way this video started is that they had a lot more footage for the video and a lot more ideas what to do, but they scrapped those. So probably, well, maybe not every video, but a lot of videos have that too, where they have like, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that, and then they just scrap them all.
Well, I'm going to do a little breakdown of what each scene requires to show a little bit of our timeline. We've got all these different layers, so it's like asset on asset on asset on asset.
Yeah.
Anything that's green is actually another layer of assets, and most things have green on them. So if I go into this, it's just
like
more
a
assets.
nightmare.
So it's even more than it first looks. But let's go to something simple, which is like the opening scene. So in this opening shot, it sort of consists of 3 layers. There is a video underneath, and that's playing of the ocean, and then on top of that we've photoshopped out a railing. So we would have to take this from somewhere and then essentially cut everything out so that it's a transparent PNG, and then you can still see the background behind it. And
Makes
then you've
sense.
got Harold, and you know, so he looks like this, and then we've essentially just put a head on a body that we've also cut out. So that's, you know, 3 layers, and then we'll have that playing, and then on top of that we will have a nested sequence, and then the nested sequence will have a bunch of effects in it. So for example, the opacity's increasing there, and there is a position and a zoom on that as well. So this sort of stuff might take 15-20 minutes to put together, something like that, you know, with all the cutting out and all that sort of stuff. And then that becomes, how long? 2 seconds to 9 seconds. And this is quite a long shot. You know, most of these shots aren't this long. So that becomes, and then there's script and VO on top of that. And this is like the 80th version of the script. And then music goes underneath that. So you can see how it all sort of adds up to take quite a long time. Then that gets taken over by 2 cross dissolves, and then one of those is a nest, and then it's in the, I'm not sure why that's so many layers. Oh, it's his eye. Okay, so we've got to make the eyes move. Each of these eyes has to kind of move independently. And then he stays completely stationary, but then he's put into a nest, and then that nest is zooming. It gives it this feeling of being a little more lifelike. Then we've got the background of the ship,
but
so we've just added a separate position and zoom, and then we've added a blurring effect to give a sense of depth. Then that does a dip to white, and then that comes in with some regular footage. That fades into more footage overlaid, and then in comes Harold again. So the opacity increases, there's a zoom function, and then this is a combination of a few different assets. So we've got just the head, and then we've got this second face here, and then it just fades one into the other. And then you take this nest, and then sound effect is added underneath. So yeah, it's quite simple stuff. There's just a lot of it. But once you start getting over here to these sort of action scenes, you can see that it becomes quite a lot. You know, let's take it from 5 minutes to 30, so 11 shots over the course of 30 seconds. So that means there's a shot on average about once every 3 seconds. And then you sort of scale that out to a 40-odd minute video. You know, let's say our average shot probably isn't about 3 seconds. It might be something close to about 4 seconds. That's 15 per minute. So that's 570 individual shots. And then within each shot, you know, you might have 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 10. So that's 14, and then 15, 6, these are sound effects, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you might have 20 assets. I'm not sure if that's particularly typical. So you might be talking about roughly 11,000 assets over the course of the video. I think if I look at the video files themselves, there'll be a lot of redundancy in here as well. Okay, it just keeps going. Look at it go.
Oh my god.
About a quarter of a terabyte. So there's
It's quarter of
50,000
the
files
whole.
here, and you can just really click anywhere.
That's neither a quarter of my HDD, because I have only 1 terabyte HDD, or it's the whole of my SSD, which I have, I think, like 240 gigabytes on my SSD. Just
and
holy
you know,
hell.
go bin 1, whatever,
And
whatever,
it'll
and
take
it's
a lot
all
of time
just
to
like
render too.
collected, cut out
Depends on PC, I
assets.
guess.
Like every one of these has been like Photoshop, and there's just like thousands of them. And so that's why things take so long, just because you know, we're not filming anything, we're just constructing everything pretty much from scratch. We're just, you know, we're just sort of taking existing assets and we're altering them. And so that's what's going on. It's not like, oh, you know, it's July, maybe we should put out a video. Before we have even put out Costa Concordia, we were already working on the next video. We don't want the quality to go down. It sucks that they're not out more often. If I could be pulling out one a week, I would. I don't want the quality to go down either. Like, I look at the newest videos and I think, and not just me, but you know, like as a team, we're quite proud of them. We could start going back to doing 5-minute videos.
The story
but
and
honestly,
the
I
boys.
just don't think they're as interesting because you can't go as in-depth. So the structure will go very much like, so some people did a thing and then it went badly, the end. By the way, that video that we put out is actually not rendered at all. We couldn't make it render. We tried everything. We tried pulling all the files into a new project, tried on different computers, tried it on the server, tried it off the server, different formats, different codecs. We were troubleshooting, going piece by piece, finding anything that had an error code in it. Okay, yeah, this PNG will replace that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And in the end, it was so impossible. What we had to resort to was, we took this preview render screen here, right? And then we just blew it up full screen. Then we opened up OBS, and we just started screen recording the whole thing. So we would screen record the preview, and then we just kept going until there was a dip in the frame rate, and then we stopped the recording, and then we started it again, and then re-recorded the next few minutes. We basically did that over and over and over the whole way through the timeline, and then we took those recordings, strung them all together like this, and then cut off the overlap. And that's the video. We still don't have a proper rendered version. Secret channel and channel update stuff. I've read a few comments and I think people...
Okay, before that, I'm curious, what is he using for editing? Because I usually use, well, not usually, the only thing I've used is Vegas. And that doesn't look like Vegas for me. Maybe it's the Adobe. Can you do it in Adobe After Effects? I don't know.
I think that we just sort of sit on our hands and then
If
maybe
you know,
a
please
month
don't.
before the video we start working. Or, you know, we've got all these videos on side channels coming out. It's like, why is he working on this and not on the main channel? And it's totally a fair question. I'd want to know. And the answer to that is, well, we're always working on a new main channel video. There's never really a period when we're not working on one. And then the side channels have been made in such a way that all I really need to do is a recording for them, and then do more of a producer role. So I'll come in and I'll critique the thing, and I'll go, that's not funny, that sucks. And maybe here's a reference that should go here, and no, that should look more like that, and help with some of the timings. And sometimes I'll come in at the last minute and do the final polishes on the edit. But that's about the extent of stuff I do for other channels. My main job is the main channel, and look, even if we shut all these other ones down tomorrow and said, okay guys, we're all working on the main channel, videos wouldn't come out on it any faster or more frequently. So basically, you get the main channel when it's done. Second channel, about 1 a month. So, you know, we should have on average, I'd say about 10 a year of those. There's 3 other channels. There's a live channel, which I haven't been paying any attention to for a while.
Okay.
There's story mode, which is just basically video games run through. It's found flicks of games.
I have reactions to some of these.
I come in, I haven't read the scripts in advance, and so it doesn't take pretty much any of my time. We just sit there for 30 minutes recording and basically interrupting each other. Me and another editor usually doing the VO. That's great fun, and I don't do anything. It's quite fun. And then there's this other channel which is just for a completely different audience altogether. Yes, this is probably not your thing. It's not entertainment. It's not funny. It's just like a reference index. And so Historian runs that channel, and she just goes, here's a thing, and here's what it is. That's it. That's the whole idea. And it's basically supposed to be an analog of Wikipedia. So instead of going and reading an article on Wikipedia, you just go, type it into the YouTube search bar. Or this channel, which is like how to pronounce banana in English. It's like, here you go, banana.
Banana.
I love that when he clicked it, it was already watched. I love that.
They find it and they go, this is fucking not for me, and they don't subscribe, that is totally fine. A lot of this content is catered to a pretty different audience. Other than that, for now, I don't have any other channels, but I'll let you know as they come. Other than that, for now, I don't have any other.
Okay, so green screens. Green screens and other resources to use in your own videos, no attribution necessary. Oh. So if I will start editing at some point in the historian reactions, look how white I am. Because it's 10 a.m. in the morning, so there is the lamp that is on and the light from the balcony. Anyway, if I am gonna edit, I will maybe use something from that.
The channels, but I'll let you know as they come up. Eventually, we will have dozens of channels, and then I will franchise them out, and it'll be like a McDonald's in every state, and then we'll own a ton of them in secret, and be like, oh fuck, is this one owned by IH? Is this one owned by IH? And then we will rule YouTube, and then we will take all of those winnings.
I like it,
and we will put them into CeeLo coin, and then we will buy a private island with the winnings.
Why that coin? Why
and
not
then I will drive
IH coin?
Into
All right. And that's a new thing. Includes paid promotion. Can you see in the corner top left? I noticed this on this video. I don't know when. Maybe it started today. Includes paid promotion instead of like in the bottom left. It was like there's advertisement. Doesn't matter. This was a good Q&A. This is probably the best Q&A I've seen from him because it's like quite this is what I expect from Q&A. When I first watched the Q&As before, I watched I think 2. Maybe it was a Balloon Boy one? I don't remember. But there were 2 Q&As I watched. They both weren't they weren't something I expected from a Q&A. They were just them talking, and it's about like maybe 5 questions, and sometimes they answered sarcastically, and then some questions are not in regards to that video. This is a perfect Q&A in my opinion. He goes over different things. He explains how the video is made. I mean, like in the beginning, the intro thing, how it was made, how they had ideas, but they had to cut them out. And then in the end, he talks about, like, in the end, he talks about something that's not necessarily to this video. It's just something separate. Not even this video. This whole Q&A is not about the video that he made. This whole Q&A is about situation that he made a video for, which is exactly what I want from a Q&A. If I'm interested in the situation, I want to hear more about the situation. Maybe previous Q&A I've seen is made that way because the situation itself is not that big, so you don't have answers for maybe some questions that people want to be answered. But either way, oh my god, this video is 13 minutes long. Can you see? Can you see? Yeah, you can see the cat sleeping on my arm. I'm sorry, little one. I have to move you. There you go. Okay. Nonetheless, this was a great video. Answered pretty much everything I had, and just more than answered, it just added. This is pretty much a 48 minutes, maybe like less. Let's say 43 minutes, like it was in the screen. Well, pretty much a screenshot of the editing software, where it says 43 minutes of additional information to the, was it around 40 minutes long video previous, the original Costa of Concordia, that one was named. Anyway, as he said, if you don't like the channel, if you don't like the content, you don't subscribe, it's totally fine. But if you do like, please subscribe to my channel. If you enjoyed this reaction that was minute and 14 hours long, Probably more, well, gonna shut up. Please subscribe, because 90% of you are not. And thank you for watching. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye. Have a great life, because one of us has to.